Hello, my name is Dieter Loosemore. Welcome to Win Some Loosemore, and you join me for a Why I Like. This is a series of videos where I take you through some of the board games in our collection and I tell you why I like them. Today I'll be telling you why I like Century: A New World. Century: A New World is the third game in a trilogy of games, each called Century, and as I have for the first two, I'm about a year late putting out a review for this. We've had it for a while. It came out last May, June kind of time in 2019. But it just seems to have been the way that it's taken me a year to get round to each of them. So do check out why I like the other two as well. But this is the third and final Century game that can combine with the others, but I'll mention that later. Why don't I show you a little bit of how just the normal base game works, and we'll come back and tell you why I like Century: A New World. So I've set the game up for 3, and there's a little bit of variation that can happen in setup. The board is made up of 4 different sheets there that are lettered and numbered. You use the 1 sides for the basic game, but it comes with, so that's A, B, C, D, but it also comes with then E and F. Oh, that's side 2, sorry, side 1 for this game. And then each of these pieces also has a reverse side that can be used in one of the various combination games. As usual, it comes with rules for how to mix it with the other games, as well as the basic rules. And it's the first one of them actually to come with an extra sheet. Normally, all the rules in the Century games fit onto a double side of this, but they've got an extra side here that just explains all of the symbols. It gives you a little bit more information, it's a helpful thing, but it's a thing you won't need once you've played a couple of times, because all the symbols are relatively clear. Everybody has one of their player boards and a starting group of 6 settlers, and then there are 6 more that you could possibly recruit to your side. We've got the normal contract cards up here. There are a few different symbols on them, some for setup, so this has 3+ because I've got 3 people set up. I've included all the 3+, although there are some for 4 players. And then this one has a black star, this one has a clear star. You use different setups depending on the game. For the basic game, you include the black star. In the combination for this and the first game, you use the white star instead of the black star. And so just different combinations of these contract cards will come up depending on which iteration of the game you are going for. The game is triggered. The end of the game is triggered when somebody has their 8th contract card, so a little more than in the other ones, but they score a little less, and it's more about building your engine. Because as you can see, each of these cards has different symbols at the top that will do different things, and different powers as well as the basic points. So this is a worker placement board. Aha, I see I have missed a spot. I wondered if I would. With these exploration tiles to begin with, every space that has an exploration tile on it, so one of these, which has an instant bonus on it, you cannot visit. So at the beginning of the game, you've just got the top row here, where you get contracts and the upgrades, and then some of the basic spaces. Again, that will be slightly different as to what those basic spaces do on the different boards that you might use. And how a turn works. This person has an extra symbol on their player board which denotes that they're the first player. That's why they have slightly fewer resources to start. You'll notice each of these spaces, hopefully you can see it, has a number in them. That is how many workers you need to send there to trigger that space. And so let's see, there's far less trading to begin with. So what they've got 3 yellows. Let's say they're going to want to go after this one, which needs a yellow, a green and a brown. So they're going to send their 3 workers. They're going to go big and go here. And this just says gain a brown. There are also, on all of the spaces, symbols on the side which relate to some of these cards if they have that symbol. So in this case, a skin and a bone. If they had a card, can I show you an example quickly of, say, this card, which says on a bone space, you pay 1 fewer worker, so they don't have had to spend 2 workers to go there. So that's how some of the upgrades work. Similarly, you see this is a shaking hand, a friendship thing. This card here would give them one less, would need one less to go there. So they've got their brown. That's the whole turn. It's nice and quick. It goes around. They're going to go here and get 2 yellows. Don't cheat. And where am I going to go? I know, I can see probably that they want to go here. So I'm going to go here to get this green. Now, you have to spend the amount, but let's say this pink player here wants to go on the spot that I'm on. Unlike normal worker placements, they can go there as well by adding 1 more. So they had 3 left over. They'd kind of planned for this. So they put 3 here instead of the 2, which forces my workers back. I've still got my resource, but they get to use the space now as well, which is good for them, but it's given me more people. So I actually have more to play with. So it's benefited me slightly. This player is going to go here. They're just having a little game of their own. And I am going to do exactly the same as they did to me. If I wanted to go back here, I'd have to pay 4. I'm going to go here and pay 4. So there's my 4 workers, because we're going after the same thing. I get a brown now as well. And actually, they now have enough people to go to this space. This space, they pay 2. And when you go to one of these top fort spaces, you have to do at least one of the 2 actions that you do up there. You can do both. The first, as you're about to see, is turn in for the contract cards. So this player will take a yellow, a green, and a brown to gain this 4-point contract card and add it to their tableau up here. This one would slide down and we add a new one. Now, each of the cards has a symbol in the top. This one has the Dreamcatcher. That just gives you a clue as the type of ability that that card will have. It's something about the natives helping, I think is what they call it in the rules. And it means every time they go to a handshake space now, from now on in the game, they have to send 1 worker less. So if they were to go to this space, although it costs 1, they still have to pay 1. 1 is the minimum. You always have to spend something. But to these 3 spaces or 2 spaces, they could get a reduction of 1. The different symbols up here, these satchels are generally new settlers coming. So if I was to claim this card on another turn, I would add 2 workers from my reserve into my pool. The tools are about gaining resources. So every time I went to a corn space, so like here where blue went to begin with, you would get an extra yellow. And then the interesting ones here are the navigation ones, or the explorations rather. When you pull one of these, you get to take one of the exploration tiles from the board and add it onto your board. I can't do that yet. So the blue player, let's say they go here, spend their 1 to turn in 2 yellows for a green. That's nice. They're just plodding along. I am going to go here to spend my 1 and, oh no, I can't. I can go here, sorry. Spend my 1, spend my 2 yellows and a brown to get this card. So I've made corn spaces cheaper. All of these slide down. Now the pink player didn't, but I am going to. You have 3 plug-in spots, and all of these spaces, the other action that you can do at a fort is to take one of the plug-in upgrades. If there's like this, I can only take the top one. So this says hammers and satchels 3. So that means at the end of the game, and I cannot replace this, at the end of the game, for every hammer and satchel that I have in my tableau together, I get 3 points. I'm going to plug that in. I've revealed a new one that says for every 2 workers that you have at the end of the game, you get a point. And there are a few different ones like that. You can only have a maximum of 3, so you might not want to, like the pink player did not want to take either of these because it's not what they're going for. They might want one like this. For every single navigation you have, which is slightly better, you get 2 points. And so you build your tableau and you get points that way. So as I say, once that continues, this pink player can't go, well they can, but they don't want to. They don't want to go there, so their action then is to rest, which pulls back all of their workers. And that's basically all of the actions in the game. This symbol is slightly different. It's got grey and an up arrow. That just means upgrade 3 times. This one upgrade 2 times. And these obviously are trades and these are production. But other than that, that's all of the actions of the game. You either put workers out and do what it says, either making trades, productions, whatever, or going to the fort, claiming contracts and plugging in upgrades. Or if you can't do that, you rest by pulling back all of your workers. And then once somebody has their 8th, we do the scores. We add up the points on the cards, and we add up the points on the upgrades that you've plugged in, and then every non-yellow cube is worth a point as well. And we see who wins based on who has the most points. So why do I like a new world? Well, I like the system. I like the concepts that are familiar across the whole Century series. It's very clear, if you know the others, that this is a Century game, despite the fact that each of the core mechanisms in each of the 3 games is very different. Those 4 tubs of cubes, the spices or whatever it might be, depending on the game, the meat and tobacco things in this one, it just gives it a very familiar feel. A lot of the symbology and that you're going for those contracts to get points is kind of the same in each game. So it was very familiar, very accessible for us because we already know them. But this one particularly is being worker placement, kind of put us off a little bit at first, because worker placement is currently probably one of the most common core mechanisms that games use, because it's very simple, it's very clear, it's a very good mechanism, it's one I enjoy, but it can very easily get quite samey. And so just the typical pure worker placement of, I go on this spot, that's the action that I take, no one else can go there, and there's a number of spots and we fill them up for a round and then we take all of our workers back and do that again. That's kind of normal worker placement. And so what I really enjoy seeing are variations of that. And a game I quite liked that Kirsty and I played through, a game called Charterstone from Stonemaier Games, introduced us to the concept of worker bumping, which this employs as well, where if I've gone there, you can actually go there as well, and that gives me back one of my workers so that I actually get to elongate my rounds, because our rounds are out of sync. I've now had 3 turns instead of 2 before you've had to pull back, that kind of thing. And so then this does that, as you saw, but I really enjoy that it's taken it to another level as well, in that you can't just bump, you have to bump by outspending. And so you now have a group of workers that you can give as many as you want to a space to as you like, as long as you meet the minimum requirements. So that's a really nice development of worker placement for me. That it's not just I take the space, that's it, and it's a development on the bumping mechanism, and then to have cumulative bumping I think is a really good idea. And then similar to Charterstone again, once all your people are out or you don't have enough, you then do take a turn to pull them back. That's similar to the rest action that you would have had in Century Spice Road. So again, all these familiar things just made it nice and accessible with enough twists. What I really like about this are the engine building elements. This is what the Century series has done really well. Spice Road, it was a hand of cards. Eastern Wonders, yes, Eastern Wonders was the upgrades that you unlock. This is those plugins on the board. You get those 3 tiles that you can gain from the contract spots, and they just give you extra points at the end of the game, but then the contracts themselves might give you an extra thing, and the foresty looking tiles on the board, if you unlock those, you get something else as well. And so like discounts of, I only need to use 1 worker to go here instead of the basic 2, or I can bump you out therefore with the same number of workers as you've got, that kind of thing. Discounts and making things better. Now draw an extra red cube every time you do that. The engine building elements of these games has always been the most exciting, the most interesting bits, and the same is true here. There's a lot more in this game, and points are much lower for that kind of reason, because you've got those endgame scoring things. There are more of those engine building elements, and actually I can go heavy on the adding more workers to my pool, or I can go heavy on getting more resources when I do that. but you can't completely because you're tempered a little bit by what cards come out. You're a little bit dependent on luck of the draw, and so that balance of I can go my strategic way versus I have to respond to what's there. How do the things that are there already help me, or do I hold off, let my opponent get one of the cards to reveal something new? Excellent stuff. I really like it. We've tried a couple of the combination games. We've tried the first and second together, and we tried the first and the third together. We've still got a couple more, so I can't comment on all of those. I'll probably do a separate video once we've finally played all of the variations. But again, just from the one that we've done and reading the rules of the others, it seems that Emerson Matsuuchi has just somehow managed to come up with 3 very different systems that just seem to be able to go together to make a single gaming experience, and so it's just very impressive. Of the 3, it's probably my least favorite of the 3, but I think saying that as just a statement on its own does this a disservice. I think it is better. I think it will get less attention because Spice Road was such a big hit when it came out. Eastern Wonders is my personal favorite, just that little bit more quiet, crunchy thinking I like. This is a really good addition and cap to the series, and if you've got the first 2, I would definitely suggest you get this, if for no other reason than completionism. But it's a great game. It's a great take on worker placement. Components I would have liked to have been a little thicker, a little bigger, a little fiddly, but that's okay. Everything's really clear. It works well. A little bit rambly, but finally, Century, a New World. That is why I like it. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you did, consider subscribing to the channel if you don't already, and hitting the bell icon so you stay updated when we put out new content. If you're curious what we do in between, you can follow us on social media. We're on the usual places. If you just search Win Some Loosemore, you will no doubt find us. Again, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've been Dieter for Win Some Loosemore. I hope to see you again. Goodbye.